In this video, we're going to talk about a swing fault that is near and dear to me, and that is reverse spine angle. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand what it is, why it happens, and how you can fix it. So let's get started by talking about what reverse spine angle is. And simply put, it's a change in the spine angle. What I mean by that is when we set up and build our stance over the ball, we will set our spine at a certain angle. Reverse spine angle is simply when this angle changes in the swing, typically when it starts to point towards the target. And this changing of the angle of the spine is the #1 cause of low back pain in golfers. So simply put, it's a change in spine angle. So why does this happen? And reverse spine angle is interesting because there's two main things working together to cause it. Okay, and this is important to understand because if you know that you reverse spine angle during your swing, if you have these two things going on, then no amount of drill is going to work to fix this problem here. We have to go deeper and address your mobility and get everything to move in a way that makes this go away. And so there's two things going on here. And the first one is pelvic control. Mainly what we talk about pelvic tilt. The ability to rock your pelvis forward and backward, anteriorly, posteriorly. Okay? The inability to do that or control your pelvis is one of the things that causes reverse spine angle. The other is thoracic rotation. And thoracic rotation is the ability for the upper body to rotate. So there's two things going on here that cause reverse spine angle. The first is the inability to control the pelvis through the swing, which is important because as we make our swing, the pelvis needs to be able to tilt and turn and bend all at the same time. And so we need to be able to create that control. At the same time, the pelvis is doing all this bending and moving to create and transfer power from the ground in your legs through your core. So your core needs to be very braced, and we can control the lower half through the pelvis, through the muscles that surround it and the big joints of the hips. But while this is braced and transferring that power through the core, we also need the upper body to be able to rotate. And it needs to be able to rotate independently from what the lower body is doing. But when they work in conjunction, that's when the magic happens. So if you are missing control of your pelvis or rotation of your spine, both of which are incredibly common, there's a very likely chance that when you swing, that angle of your spine is going to shift because it can't be maintained. So the big question now is, okay, if I know that I have reverse spine angle in my swing, I know what it is, I know what's causing it, but of course, how do I fix it? And so because there's two things at play here, we need to take a two systems approach. And we need to address both of these independently from each other, yet still during the same mobility session. Okay? So the first thing that we want to do, and it doesn't necessarily matter which one you start with, we're going to start by talking about the pelvis, is we need glute activation. Okay? The glutes, the muscles of your butt, as well as all these other surrounding muscles around the hip and the pelvis that connect this whole area, they are very important. But before we can make change to that hip joint, we got to wake them up. And that's what we refer to when we talk about glute activation. Now, once they are woken up, we can start to mobilize them a little bit by doing a cat-cow. And this is going to take the muscles that we've just woken up and remember or teach them how to tilt the pelvis in the way that we're trying to. And then the last piece is we're going to do a Samson progression, which is a way to get your hips into extension. We wake the muscles up, we get them moving, and then we get them to go beyond where they're stuck. And that's how we improve the range of motion. And that is one technique to address the pelvic control issue. And then there's the second half, and that's the thoracic rotation. Now, like we did here with the pelvic side, we need to activate the muscles of the upper body that are related to this rotational piece. And this is what we call scap activation. Scap referring to your scapula, your shoulder blades. The muscles around this mid part of the back, very important for creating stability through the shoulder while allowing rotation through the chest. So once these are starting to open, similar to what we did down here, we're going to do some reach backs, because these reach backs are going to get the muscles around the back, teaching them, okay, we want to rotate around the spine. What does that feel like? We connect the brain to the body. And then when we want to improve that range of motion overall, we can do something like a twist and tilt, which again helps us expand or go beyond our current range of motion to improve our overall mobility. So that's an overview of what reverse spine angle is and some of the things that it can do to affect your swing. We know what it is, we know why it happens, and now we're going to go through a few progressions here to address these issues. So first up, we're going to activate our glutes, all the muscles that surround the hip joints, because our goal is to improve the tilt of our pelvis, so we need to get them, those muscles, working so that we can do that. And what we're going to do is we're going to lay down on our back, and you can lay with your hands up or down, but you're going to put them under your butt, and that's to get a little bit of some feedback here. And what we're going to do is squeeze both of your cheeks as hard as you can. You're going to breathe in, and then as you exhale, relax your butt. And then again, you're going to squeeze them and breathe in and relax as you let the air out. And our goal here is to get your cheeks to turn on and off, and you're going to feel that sensation. Now, for some of you, you might feel like you have to work really hard and they might not be turning on. That's okay. Some of you, you might think, oh, this is silly, I can do this easily. In which case, I want you to pay attention to how smoothly you can contract and relax. You don't want any shaking or what we call perturbation, because that's a sign that you're not quite in control of that movement. You don't own it yet. Okay, so if you are finding, hey, I need a little bit more time, go ahead and take it. Now we're going to start with both cheeks, but now let's move into one cheek at a time. So we're going to get in that same position, but now you squeeze just your right cheek, breathe in, and as you exhale, let it relax. Again, try to make it smooth, or try to make it strong, or a little bit of both. Again, left cheek, breathe in, contract. As you exhale, relax. Right cheek. Left cheek. And now we can play around. Let's go both cheeks on, both cheeks off. Right cheek on, right cheek off. Left cheek on, left cheek off. Both cheeks on, both cheeks off. So at this point, you've been able to spend some time connecting your brain to your body, getting those systems to wake back up. If you need more time, go ahead and take more time. This is a video. You can pause it. Go ahead and do it again and then come back. This is not something that you want to rush. Now, once you feel your butt is turning on and turning off, it's feeling strong, it's feeling smooth, Then we can go ahead and begin to do the actual tilt that we're trying to achieve. And we're going to do that by doing a cat-cow. We're going to get onto our hands and knees. You can use a pillow or towel if you need to. But our goal is to get our hips directly over our knees, our shoulders directly over our hands. And we're going to inhale as we look up and arch your back like you're trying to fill your back full of a bowl of water. And then as you exhale, you're going to tuck your chin, you're going to round your back, you're going to tuck your pelvis, and you're going to look down. Back and forth. In. And out. As you're looking up, you're trying to expand your chest and your belly and breathe. Fill and stretch the underside. And as you exhale and tuck and round and look down, you're trying to squeeze your glutes. You're trying to tuck your belt buckle up into your belly button. Tuck your chin, look down, round yourself as you exhale. Like the glute activations, if you need more time, go ahead and take more time. If you need to pause the video and do another round, if you want to rewind it, go ahead and do it. That's totally fine. Because we're going to move on to our third piece, which is the Samson progression. And to do the Samson progression correctly, to do it where you can improve the range of motion of your hips while preventing putting stress on your back, then it's important that you did these first two exercises to their full benefit, that you feel your glutes starting to activate and that you're feeling a good tilt and control through your pelvis. But if you're ready, let's go ahead and extend the hip. To begin the Samson progression, it's important that we can still tilt our pelvis back and forth while standing, both from a square stance and from a split stance. So again, if you need to, go back and do the first two exercises so you can properly get the benefits out of this. Okay, but assuming you can, what we're going to do is get into a split stance. Okay, your feet don't need to be straight in line with each other. It's okay if they're a little bit offset, but split stance meaning one foot is in front of the other. And it does not have to be wide, not yet. So even a little bit goes a long way. You can expand as you go, as your hips improve, okay? But just know that there's no benefit of going wide if you don't have the proper range of motion. You're just gonna put stress on your body, okay? So just do what you can and improve over time. So we're getting into our split stance. I'm gonna go right leg forward, and we want our toes as best we can to be at 12 o'clock, okay? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna first arch our back and round our back, a little pelvic tilt just to make sure that we can still do it. And after we arch, we're going to round and tuck, and then hold that tuck. Squeeze your butt to lock it in. And this is where the first two exercises come in, is we had to tuck it, but then also hold it in so your glute is active. Now, when your glute is active and it's squeezing, it causes the other muscles on the front of your hip, the ones we're trying to stretch, it causes them to relax. They can now be pulled a little bit, and we're going to use that to our benefit. We're going to pull them just a little bit, and then we're going to try to contract them and squeeze them and activate them and wake them up. And that's the key to improving our range of motion. So, split stance, tuck, lock it in with our butt. We're going to take our front foot. We're going to get up onto our toes. We're going to take our back foot, get up onto our toes. It's a little bit of a balance game. You don't have to do this, but it makes it more effective. You're pushing your toes, particularly on the back foot, into the ground. You're tucking, locking in, feeling the stretch, keeping your chest tall. Okay, and we're just going to hang out here and breathe. If you need to, you can come out of the stretch a little bit. Relax that tension. Okay, give yourself a break, but then we're going to go right back in. Arch, tuck, lock it in. At this point, if you can go a little wider with your stance, now's the time. Tuck, squeeze, feel the stretch. Start to twist into your right leg a little bit. Turn your whole torso. Push those back toes into the ground. Stay up on your front toes. Keep breathing. If you need to hold on to something for balance, go for it. Something like a golf club. Don't use it as a crutch. Well, pun intended. Do use it like a crutch. But try your best to stay in the balance while you're doing this. A little bit longer. We're going to reach up with our left arm. Keep the tension going. Keep the breath going. We want to accumulate at least 1 to 2 minutes in this posture. Beginning to own it, to breathe into it. And when we're finally done, we relax that tension. We come out of the stretch. I like to finish by opening, closing, rotating my hip a little bit. At this point, it wants it. So I just play around a little bit, get the hip. There we go. Explore the end corners that I couldn't get to before. Okay, shake it out. And then we repeat on the other side. And this is one of many ways that we can work on our pelvic control. Okay, we went through a glute activation, some cat-cows to get the tilt to start, and then we went through the Samson progression to open up the front of the hip to create a nice stable posture with the lower body. All right, now it's time to improve thoracic rotation. And one of the things that we're going to do to improve thoracic rotation is we're going to activate the muscles that surround that area. Okay, if we want to improve how much we can rotate, we need the muscles surrounding that area to be working with us rather than against us. In order to do that, we need to get them to wake up. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay on our back. And when you're down here, you're going to essentially make this pattern with your arms. Okay, get them as flat as you can. It doesn't have to be perfect. But while we're on the ground, we're going to push them backwards into the ground. We're going to hold, and then we'll switch. Okay, so let's get onto the ground. Get into that 90-90 position with your arms. And we're going to press them into the ground and breathe in. And then as you exhale, relax the tension. And switch. Inhale and breathe and press. Keep pressing, and as you exhale, relax your muscles. Switch again. Switch. And so if you need to, you can continue this process. It's going to be really good for your back, for the muscles of your torso, for your shoulders. It's a really good thing to do. So if you need to take the time to do it, now's the time to go ahead and do it. Otherwise, we're going to move on and we're going to get the shoulders to work with these muscles that we just woke up to create the rotation that we're looking for. We're going to do some reach backs, and we're going to start by getting on our hands and our knees. And we're going to take our right hand, put it behind our head, and we're going to dip the whole side of our body, the elbow and everything under, and try to tuck it under your left arm and breathe in. And as you exhale, come all the way up and then breathe in again. As you exhale, we're going back down. So we got these muscles of our mid-back, our shoulders, our torso, we got them to wake up. And now we're teaching them the movement that we want them to do. We want them to be able to rotate. A lot of our rotation comes from the shoulders and through the torso. Now if you need to, go ahead and repeat on the other side, or just take some more time so that you're nice and balanced. Otherwise, we're going to move on to the last piece here, which is a twist and tilt. And the twist and tilt is a simple way to get your body to improve its overall range of motion. We want better rotation, so let's teach our body how to rotate, and let's tie it in with some breath work as well. So I pulled out a little collapsible stool here. I'm going to use it just to get myself off the ground, but you can use really anything. You can use a seat, you could use a medicine ball, a milk carton. What I don't suggest, however, is something that pivots or swivels. Something that's firm on the ground is going to be best, and something that you can get your feet on the ground is best. But what we're going to do here is we're going to sit together, our feet in our knees, and keeping our knees touching, we're going to cross our feet. My right leg is now on top, my hands are behind my head, and I'm going to twist as far as I can to my right because my right foot is the one on top. As far as I can, and now I'm going to tilt my right elbow down. Now, as I'm doing this, my fingers are laced together because I'm going to coach you through how to open and twist and rotate more by incorporating your breathing as well as pulling your arms apart using those back muscles that we were working on earlier. So hands are behind our head, those fingers are laced as far as you can to your right, and then drop the right elbow. As you do this, pull your arms apart. You'll feel a stretch down the side of your body, and breathe in. As you hold that breath, twist farther, pull harder, and then exhale, and come all the way back up. We're going to go the other side, twist to the left, switch your feet first. Try to keep the knees together. Twist to the left, drop the left elbow, twist to the left, drop it a little bit. Now breathe in. Pull them apart as hard as you can. Squeeze your knees together. Keep going. As you exhale, turn farther. And come back up. You would, of course, repeat this as many times as you need to feel like you've improved your range of motion, or even better, to prove that you've improved your range of motion. And that can be done by simply testing beforehand. Okay, how far can I rotate? And then do the exercise. How far can I rotate again? But this progression of exercises is going to be really great for creating more rotation through the torso. So by understanding what reverse spine angle is, why it happens, we can take an approach to each of these systems that isn't moving as well as it should, and we can improve that with just a few minutes of mobility because you're able to move in a way that you couldn't before. And that's why you were doing it in the first place. So go ahead, take the time, go through this progression of exercises, do it as much as you need to build the resiliency to this swing fault.